Does anyone else just really like trees? Well, today we're going to be growing a bunch of trees. We are back with the Battle for Middle-earth mod, Age of the Ring, and we're going to be playing Lothlorien. Growing lots of mallow trees. Lothlorien's got an interesting mechanic in that rather than putting down resource structures and then building barracks and upgrade facilities, all you do is you plant trees. And you get more trees, and then your trees can upgrade into either more of your resource structures or into barracks or stables or like storehouses for supplies for equipment upgrades and things. There's maybe one or two buildings outside of that, but mostly we're growing trees and then we're picking what we want to upgrade that tree into. Maybe we'll upgrade it into a bloom, in which case it grows some extra flowers and produces some extra resources for us. Also, the Lothlorien trees take up a smaller circle radius than most other factions' farms, so you can fit more of them in a tighter area. So, really interesting mechanic, pretty cool. They're a bit squishier though, so they don't hold up to aggression as well as many other things. Our opponent today is Muck, or Mook, M-U-K. He's down southeast on the yellow Erebor. I think he's going King Dane, so you could either, when you pick the dwarves, you can pick one or two paths to do. I think it's Dane or Thorin. Thorin, of course, dies in the Battle of Five Armies, but if he had lived, a little bit of alternative history maybe, then he would be King of the Dwarfs and he would lead Erebor here. But I think we got King Dane today. So, I've gone quick into a third tree into a garrison, pulled out some sword elves, some Tawawaith, who knows how Elvish, not my second or third language here. Dwarves are making units and immediately loading them into their mines. So the mines for the dwarves are all connected. So you could load a unit in one and then unload it at another one. He's actually gone for some very fast creeping. He's made a mine far to the west, immediately made some spearmen, unloaded it over there, and he's taken out a warg camp. Very cool. I, however, have snuck some sword elves into his back line. Boom, we hit him with a war horn. The Elven Horn, plus 25% damage, plus 25% armor for 60 seconds, and we're going to be chopping up this mine in the back. More elves coming in the front. He's also expanded up in the northeast corner and the southwest corner. And I'm kind of bouncing around the outsides of his base looking for more vulnerable mines, but he hasn't done ones near his base. His vulnerable mines are way out in the corners, which I haven't really noticed yet. So when my units are getting low, I'm trying to run them away. I do see a chance here maybe to jump onto a builder, so I do that, but he sees it and he gets out. I can tell I'm not going to quite finish this mine off because he's got some Azagbaruk, some dwarven warriors out. We're also running around the top looking for more mines, but he's done a good job of hiding them, so I haven't been able to find him. He's rebuilding the one that we killed, and I'm just kind of looking for weaknesses, but not finding a lot. Not a lot of chinks in the dwarven armor. He's finished his creeping. He gotta grab that treasure real soon. I'm starting to get archers out. My Tawana Pingrin archers will help us trade much better into the dwarven warriors. We don't really want to send our elvish swordsmen into the dwarvish swordsmen. I do find a mine up here. Do I attack it or not? No, these guys are probably rallied to run back home and get some healing. Elves have lots of access to healing here. We go in here. We're willing to take a fight because we're going to have a lot of archer backup. But there are just 3 squads of dwarven soldiers here, and he pops his crows ability, the ravens of Erebor, not the crows. Nearby friendly units gain movement, attack, and ability recharge. Also boosts the production speed of friendly units. So the dwarves cutting through the archers a bit faster than I'd like, so we opt to retreat the elves. He's also creeping my other creep camp close to my base, and we'll be able to pull the treasure off of that one. More elves, or more archers coming out. Some of my hurt units are back home, but the elves have various upgrades that I don't know if I don't think I can click through it here. Every single one of these Mallow trees have different upgrades you could put on them. Often very defensive focused. You could put on, there's special lanterns that will stun everyone around them. There's a special well you could equip any of these trees with, which will put a healing of everyone around them. So this tree here is healing, so that's why these wounded units are standing by it, getting their models back. But we've got dwarves in the back line cutting up our storehouse and cutting it up quite quickly. So I think we're going to lose that one. But he's going to lose his dwarves for his trouble as the archers pepper them down. I think he pops a buff on them. Oh no, he used his natural sprinters. Extra movement speed, but not quite fast enough to get away from the elves. Another dwarvish attack coming in the north. He's going to pull down another tree up there. I'm poking around at the front, and also I've identified his southwestern mine, so we're going to try and clean that up. We split some troops off to head up and deal with the top. He's picking on a builder, but our builder manages to run for her life and get out. This Malorn tree is in trouble. I think that's getting cleaned up. He's going to lose that unit. I'm pushing into his base here, but he has the dreaded ram chariot out, and I do not have pikemen on the field yet to deal with this. So the ram is able to cause me a great deal of grief. I don't really have anything that can stop him from trampling over me. He is running to the west, but now he's tasking it back. We clean up the dwarves in the base, but he is going to clean up a lot of value of elves at his base. I don't have anything that can stop this. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. The dwarven chariot, and all the elves are running for home. We need some spears out. We do have one squad of spears on the field. They're going to run down, try and save these fleeing elves. Running. He sees the spear and he veers off. Alright, good micro play from him. He's popping his natural sprinters. He's engaging on the front line. I'm trying to use my spears to keep his chariot honest, but clean up his men otherwise with our superior archer firepower. And the dwarves do fall on the front line, and the chariot retreats. Our singer, who is our builder, our Lorlinde, identifies that there's some dwarven mines up in the north after rebuilding what got destroyed before. So we've got to task some troops up there. And it's a tough fight. I think the dwarves have done a little bit more economic damage at this point in time. We took out maybe 2 or 3 mines. They've taken out 2 or 3 Malorn trees. 550 command points available for the dwarves, 625 for the elves. So the elves slightly ahead of command points, and command points are generated by your structures, usually by your farms, but for the elves it's also a bit by their garrisons and things. So a slight economic advantage for the elves maybe if we're higher in command points, but he's right behind. He's catching up quickly. We clear out the northern mine, we chase those dwarves away. He's pushing in the southern end again, just at the same time that I am pushing into his southern end. He's got a couple of chariots here. Now I only have 1 set of spears. It's gonna be dicey. His chariots also have oil barrels launching a cask of flaming oil. So we clean up a mine here. We do some good damage to the chariot, but he gets a bit of a run over on us as well. And he's got a big force pushing in the south again. So we need to defend the southern end of our base. Likewise, we're pushing in on the northern end of his base, cleaning up another mine up there. But there's a whole lot of dwarves in the town right now. Not ideal. Down south, we're furiously trying to micro the spearmen to keep these dwarven chariots honest. He charges right into the spears there and dies though, because he's got there's a lot of micro going on right now. There's a lot to look at. There's another chariot back in the base here, and the dwarves are fighting pretty well on the elven home turf here. The chariot's giving us a lot of grief. An important Malorn tree getting cleaned up here. So typically the resource structures, and then we use the stun off of that tree to buy ourselves a little more time. But typically the resource structures in the back of your base have had more time to level up, because as they produce resources, they gain in levels, and as they gain in levels, they produce even more resources. So the stuff in the back of your base is even more valuable than the other stuff because it's a higher level. So losing your sort of safe resource productions is a bad hit to your economy. He's taking down some of my safe ones. At the same time, I'm in his base, taking down his stuff as well. Dwarves are still trading very well, but we've got some spears finally to get that chariot out of here, and the elves are able to clean him up. The garrison is very low. Is he gonna get it? He does, with like his last 2 dwarfs managed to take down the garrison. That's a big win for him. That's one of my production buildings. It had been leveled up a little bit, I think, up to level 2. So I'm down to 1 tree garrison making elves. I've also gone into the, it's like what is this called? The Silent Sanctum? The Hidden Sanctum, which is a tech building and also unlocks elite units. So I'm starting to make handmaidens, which are sort of tough, sort of pseudo junior hero units that can get wood glaives that can do a bit of AoE damage. Very good against clumps of enemies. We also have Rumil on the field, just a talented elven archer. Very easy to just put in the back line and have him, burn through stuff. He stays pretty safe. We've cleaned up all the dwarves in our base. The dwarves have managed to clean up all the elves in their base. Dwarves at 500 command points, elves at 575. So pretty even still. We've got 2 mines down here. The dwarves are expanding their mining network extensively in the south. The northern end got all cleaned up for the most part. He's doing a little bit of creeping back here. I know these mines are here, so I'm taking the remains of the Elvish army and we're headed west. Currently at around 400 points of army, about 300 for the dwarves. So both of us had really heavy losses there that we're working on getting back up. A couple of handmaidens do a really good job destroying buildings, actually. They're very solid damage. We've got tier 2 Elvish spearmen on the field. The Guahedrim. Very tough, very tanky, excellent units. They're a lot of fun. They don't trade great into Elvish swordsmen, but if they get their spears on a chariot, they will wreck it toot sweet. We also have some tier 2 Elvish dagger ladies on the field. Very sort of low hit points, low defenses, but super high DPS. The dwarves pop out, but probably a mistake because there's a much stronger elf force here. They do manage to clean up 1 or 2 handmaidens though, which is not a great trade for me, but they're going to lose all those guys. Chariots coming in, but is there still spears here? Maybe not. Maybe the spears got cleaned up, in which case those chariots are very timely. In come some new spears to try to ward them off. Oh, I do still have a couple spears around, but not quite enough. And we're having trouble. Dwarves pushing in hard. Up north, I had expanded my tree network, but the dwarves are coming back in to punish there. There's dwarves in the base, and the chariots are running amok. The spears have not been able to keep them honest. There's a small unit of spears here. Are they going to be able to get on what they need? There is Gloin running around, one of the dwarvish heroes. Gloin is what? Is Gimli's dad? Is that true? Something like that. Gloin is running about. He's going back to base now because the tides are starting to turn here. More tier 2 spears out. The chariot finally gets cleaned up. The rest of the dwarves in the base get cleaned up. Tough fight. 360 command points for the dwarves at the moment, 250 for the elves. Elves on 800 cap though, and dwarves only on 600 cap. So we've done a slightly better job of keeping more of our resource structures alive and letting them get to higher levels, I think. We're marching up north because we see this trouble up here. We've got a strong force of handmaidens mixed in with our spearmen. So our spearmen are to hold the line, our handmaidens are to do some DPS for us. In the back we've got Rumil and 1 lone archer from a squad, the last surviving member of his squad. And we do kill some dwarves and we chase them away from the north. We were poking down south, but the dwarves have popped out of their mines down there and they're pushing us back. So we've retreated to the safety of our tree. We've got starlit lanterns, causes enemy units to cower in fear. So we pop that, the dwarves get freaked out by the lanterns, and then we jump on them, get some good damage on them. A lot of spears here, which are not ideal into swords, but we got a bunch of archers too, which ought to make up the difference. Up north, we've continued to loop around with our force here, clean out a couple of extra mines, so we're getting some pretty decent economic damage now against the dwarves. The dwarf force down south gets cleaned up because there's just extra archers around, and the dwarves don't have a good answer for the archers if there's not a chariot on the field. Gimli's on the field next to Gloin, tag team, and only levels 1 and 2, but they're headed north looking for trouble. Dwarves have some Barak Sharuhil on the field now. I don't know the dwarf roster to speak well about it. Iron Hills Warriors, so these are just high tier enemy strongest pikemen and cavalry. So they've got spears in the front and swords in the back. Big dwarf force coming from the south, and they look like they've got upgrades on them too. Yeah, we've got upgraded weapons on them. You can see the blue glow on their weapons mean they're going to have extra damage. I pop a summon of timed units behind them because this is going to be quite a battle here. This also allows me to earn money from this fight too, because I can tell it's going to be a nasty one. So we push in the top, we've got them surrounded the bottom. You can see the pluses popping up, +6, +6, +6. That's me earning money from getting kills there. At the same time, we've got a strong push in the front. Gimli and Gloin backed up by some heavy-duty crossbows. The Azagar Shadahul. We're managing to clean up this southern battle, but it was a tough one. Elves took a lot of casualties for fighting those dwarf forces. Dwarfs get a nice buff in the front, and with their heroes, they're trading very well into the elves. We've lost a couple of our Malorn trees in the front. We do have an elvish tower here. We're able to call down an arrow strike on them off the tower, but these are pretty tough units back here, so they don't take too much damage from it. Something got cast. Oh, Durin's Day stuns enemy units and then heals his units. But to save the day, the Amaroth na Erpen are on the field. Elvish heavy cavalry, not to be messed with. And there's a little bit of dwarf pikes on the field, but the dwarfs have not had to deal with cavalry so far, so they have not really been prepared with a lot more pike units. We're going heavy into the handmaidens. I do like the handmaidens into the dwarfs. I feel like they do pretty well here. And the Elvish cavalry, this is a very expensive unit. They're about 1,000 gold, but they're super tough. They've got a number of really nice upgrades. When they level up, they get some special abilities to give nearby units extra experience. You can buy shields for them, which reduce the amount of damage that they take from pikes and archers. They get a kill on a builder here. We kill a whole bunch of stuff. We can even see they stand here and they just melee straight into pikes. Pretty decently even. These guys are no joke. They come out of our hidden sanctum building here. Amroth na Erpen, 1,000 cost, 100 command points. Elite cavalry, very, very tough. And they've put the dwarves back on the back foot here. Though they do delve a bit greedily in too deep. Apparently they get picked up there. Must have lost track of them when they ran in too deep. Elves have also summoned some great eagles on the field. And I think I missed it, but they cleaned up a bunch of mines up here. Typically, when I summon my eagles, I like to just task them on mines around the enemy base and just clear up, use them to get like 2 or 3 kills of enemy resource structures. So we clear out some of the mines around their base, definitely a little low. 800 command points for the elves total. On the dwarfs are at 600 now. And they're about to lose one more. They're going to lose a builder up top. They lose a mine. And these spearmen do decent damage into Gloin, but nope, Gloin manages to clean them up and gain a whole bunch of experience off of it. And those guys came out of the inn here, actually. So I've captured the inn, which is a neutral structure you could train different units from. So we're pulling beacon guards, which are some men with spears. But it's just convenient that I'm able to recruit them at a weird angle and pressure him up there. Strong elf force pushing in the middle. Dwarves have got their ravens to buff them, and they're looking to push us back. There are a number of cavalry there. Or not cavalry, crossbowmen. Elvish cavalry, another squad back on the field. They are cleaning up a level 3 mine down here, so this one's definitely been left to cook for too long. But the Amroth ought to clean it up pretty well. In combat in the middle, Elvish Warhorn goes down, the elves go in. Large chunk of handmaidens with a handful of other sword elves. And the elves have popped, what is it? It's the Moonlight. I don't even know what it is. The Aya Irindil. Cancels enemy things, stuns enemy units. All allied heroes get extra resistances. Enemy heroes get weakened. The dwarves are calling out their help, but the elvish knights arrive and dominate the dwarven spearmen. Or not spearmen, crossbowmen. Words are hard. The elvish elite knights have done some big work here. And the dwarves call it. Because at the same time, you could see we've got a little bit of spears in the background there. Really, really good play. Tough battle there. And we've got a second one for you today because we ran it back. Lothlorien versus Erebor, Game 2. You get a 2 for today. Once again, this is yours truly, Daevohk on the Lothlorien Elves and Muck over on the southwest, yellow Erebor Dwarves. We're on an interesting map here. It has some tight mountains, making a choke point in the middle to get through. There's a lot of wargs around that are eager to eat people. The corners have inns to train neutral units, but they also have grumpy cave trolls. So it's a little difficult to maneuver through the map without doing a little bit of creeping first. A lot of space for expansion around your base though, so good opportunity for plenty of economy to get up and running. And really there's only sort of 3 somewhat narrow choke points into your base, so it's a bit more of a defensive oriented map. Spreading out, growing trees, Galadrim garrison online, and some sword elves coming out right away. We've got the dwarven garrison up and some sword dwarves, some Erebor warriors. He's gone 3 mine into a barracks, and he's got another dwarvish builder running way north, putting up a mine to the north. He likes his far-flung mines. He calls out his ravens. Ravens, of course, give him a 15% production speed to the nearby structures, so he can build his units even faster. And he's starting to load dwarves into the mines. The mines! First elves, swordsmen are coming on to the field. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trees up already, so booming the elvish economy. Or at least trying to. Takes a little while to get to the enemy base, because early on I'm having to route around these warg dens carefully. And then again, he's been so cautious in his expansion at his base. There's nothing good for the elvish swordsmen that show up to attack. But at the same time, I saw his predilection towards some rapid expansion into the corners last time, so I have it in my mind to go do a little checky for forward mines, and indeed we do find one here. So the elves over here head back north because they're not finding any fresh meat around the base, but these elves are able to locate a dwarven base here. We pop an elven horn on these soldiers. We're going to see if we could just clear up the mine, though we do already have dwarf warriors on us. He, the cheeky bugger, is moving even more forward to put up another mine, but I've got reinforcements coming out, more elves right here. Up north, the elves that were around the base have gotten caught by some dwarven warriors, so they're just slugging it out up there. The elves that got the war horn lose everyone but one model. I see him. I'm going to try to keep him on the base. He wants to go up and fight up there, but he's coming back to get this one unit, so I run him away to hide. We've got more reinforcements coming in, some archers on the field, but he's got some spears on the field. Spears are a bad choice right now, unless I had teched into some cavalry, which I have not been doing. But I could have. Elves could get cavalry on the field relatively early. It's just not normally done. But the dwarves trade quite well into the elvish forces first, though. However, that one warrior came back, and he's going to clear off the mine. Elves lose a unit of swords and a unit of archers, but clean up the mine. The last remaining archers actually are able to pull down the rest of the dwarfs. The dwarfs just not quite able to cover the distance well enough into the elves. Up north, we've got another line of elvish spearmen looking for trouble, but they run right into some dwarvish warriors, which is no good. I think we missed, there's some dwarf spears here, and we ran past and we didn't get that clean up. Dwarves pushing in on the base, but they're getting kited by elvish archers. Do we have any unique tech on the field? Nothing unique. First elvish hero Rumil comes out. Elvish spears are looking for trouble, but not really going to find any of it. Dwarves back to expanding down south, putting up more mines down there. And we've got some dwarf spears pushing forward in the north. 325 command points of elves in the field versus 372 of dwarves. Elvish spears pushing out to creep this war glare. Elvish archers and swordsmen headed north to try to defend this mallow, and unfortunately we don't quite get the defense We are able to get the lanterns on it, and we pop it to stun the enemy, but it's just not quite enough, and he's able to pull it down before we clean him up. Unfortunate for Lothlorien. We have a tower going up here in the middle. And the Elvish towers are unique in that they have a large circle around them, and all of the Malorn trees within the tower's range, usually about 3 of them, get a boost of resource production. 10%, and then you could even buy and upgrade the Nifredel Bloom, which gives them an additional 10% boost to resource production. So it's both a defensive unit. There's, archers on the top of the trees shooting down. You can buy a bunch of upgrades for it to do additional defensive stuff. Down south, more dwarves pushing in, and they're gonna get another tree down, it looks like. Those nasty dwarfs. Elves clean up the warg camp in the middle, and with a large force are just pushing right down the middle. Large force of dwarves pushing in the north. The southern dwarf attacks getting cleaned up. Elves looking for trouble, but again, there's not a ton here. I probably should have committed better to taking out this barracks, which I don't do. I go looking for trouble again, trying to find mines that I could pick up. It's definitely my MO. What I like to do is look just for enemy. I don't even want to tangle with anything other than fighting resource structures. We're getting picked apart up top, though. I think we're at our command point limit, actually, because we've lost a couple trees. I'm having trouble making new units back at my base. All my units are over at the dwarf base. We are working on a mine down here. We're working on a mine up here. These guys are slowly working on a barracks. He's trying to put up another mine that we're going to probably get on there. But at the same time, we're having some bad losses back at home. We manage a stun, we manage an arrow volley, but the dwarves are quite hardy, and we don't have enough guys to defend ourselves. Rumiel's blasting here. His buddy Orifin comes online, who is just sort of a generic swordsman unit, but buffs Rumiel and Haldir if they're on the field. And the dwarves manage to pull down a barracks, and they're starting to get more units back at home. We do kill a dwarvish builder. We kill a lot of dwarvish units. We're pulling down a mine in the back. We did not get this down south mine, though. He managed to get that safe in time. And we're starting to be pushed back from his base. In the elf base, Rumiel and Orifin are dueling with Gloin. Gloin's shouting, but now we've also got a unit of archers to come help. Gloin's running for it. Orifin is chasing him down. Surprise, surprise, elves are faster than dwarfs. So Gloin takes a number of hits and ends up cleaned up by Orifin. I think if he had actually turned, he might win the fight there, because dwarves are pretty hardy fighters. But it's a nice kill for Orifin there. The elvish assault force has been degraded by attrition over time, and we're worn down, and there's a lot of angry dwarves here. We're pulling back to the north, see if we can meet up with Orifin or any other heroes and units that are coming around to the north here. We found a mine, so we start on that, but there's a lot of angry dwarves around. More dwarves pushing in down south on the... so I've rebuilt another barracks, another garrison down here, so that I always want to have at least 2, but this one's now taking some hits. Just spearmen on it, though, when we got archers cleaning them up. That ought to be pretty good. We do manage to kill a dwarvish mine here, looking okay. 725 possible command points for the elves. 625 for the dwarves. So actually their southern mines here have been left to grow and level up okay. And it looks like Orifin gets jumped on by some dwarf warriors and killed when I'm not paying attention. That's not ideal. Not a lot of elves in the field. 300 points of dwarves, only 120 points of elves, so we need some mass reinforcements as quickly as possible. Tier 2 starting to come out. We've got our elvish dagger ladies. The Sindar Pathstalkers can stealth, strong versus infantry, high DPS. They're fun because if you get them to level 2, they get Shadow Strike, where they can stealth and then they deal 100% more damage for 20 seconds, which is a lot. More dwarves up managed to get into the north, clear up some more of our trees. It's really annoying. I wish they'd stop doing that. They also do a natural sprinters and charge into the Pathstalkers, doing some knockback, but Pathstalkers do really high DPS and manage to cut through them quite quickly there. Down south, I know there's trouble, so we've got some tier 2 spearmen backed up by some tier 1 archers coming in to fight the dwarfs down south. The dwarves up north managed to get cleaned up, though they do some okay damage against that tree. Lothlorien singers are starting to sing in some new trees, starting to get some handmaidens on the field as well. Handmaidens worked so well for us last time. Call in reinforcements, extra elves to help win this fight and chase them off the field. Although the dreaded wagons are online. We've got spears, but they're out of position. Oh, I didn't see it until it's too late. The wagon runs down an awful lot of spearmen, or archers rather, before the spearmen are able to be tasked to go back for him. Up north, though, we've got Rumil alongside some pathstalkers, a handmaiden, and some archers pushing in to clear stuff up. We do identify a builder. Do we get the builder too? Yes, we pulled a builder down. That's also a nice win. Builders are quite expensive. At 500 resources, they're picking them off is a good win. Down south, we're cleaning up some dwarf mines. Up north, we're cleaning up some dwarf mines. 331 points of elves in the field, 300 points of dwarfs. Are we able to do anything about this chariot? Probably not. Our handmaiden gets run down, Gimli's on the field, and the elves have got to book it. Though, the pathstalkers do manage to clean up that mine before they run for it. Rumil, I think, is probably running for his life. Yep, he's level 4, doing okay, but has to fall back. Down south, we're pushing in, although we are notably lacking spears here as well, and on comes another chariot. Ooh, the chariot techs have just been really been punishing me. Much like when my elite cavalry came online in the previous game and we managed to kill a lot of stuff, I have not been well prepared for his chariots to come out either. And he is running me down, just rolling over us, and the archers have got to run for their lives. Starting to rebuild a force in the middle with spears and spears. We've got our pathstalkers made it back home, and this tree is upgraded to be a healing well, so we can get some healing. We're going to see if we can get our spears out in order to save our retreating archers, and they're enough to sort of drive back the dwarves. Alright, dwarves, this is the dwarves, yeah, 612 of 775 right now. Elves, 500 of 750. So, slight economic advantage for the dwarves, I think. Elves may be a slightly larger army, and we've got a pitched battle in the middle. The dwarven chariot still causing trouble. Elvish elite cavalry on the field, and just like the elves don't have enough pikes to deal with the dwarven chariots, the dwarfs don't have enough pikes to deal with the elvish cavalry either. Some elves manage to to at least chase the pikes away, but the elvish cavalry tramples basically the entire dwarf army, causing some severe havoc. More dwarves coming online, more dwarves getting loaded into mines all over the place. Warriors, warriors, warriors glowing. Elves smell some blood in the water and we're pushing in. Unfortunately, this middle area just doesn't have a lot of juicy stuff. Unless we can really commit to burning down like a couple of barracks, there's not a lot of value to get here. I think I would have been much better served by still staying in the wings and chopping up the mines. Cavalry still doing a great job. He pushes in with too many swordsmen here without bringing his pikes up in time, and the Amaroth Naerpen are tearing him apart. A lot of dead dwarfs getting run over by horses here. But there's not a strong force outside of the cavalry, so there are glade wardens here, which are elite archers, can also pull out swords in a pinch. So we have some strong units, but there's not enough of them. So we fall back to the tree to heal. We plink at him with some archers. 750 command points for the dwarf, 775 for the elves, so pretty close. And both sides have fall back. There is a dwarven catapult on the field, able to bombard with some fire shots. And there's another dwarven goat chariot causing us grief in the back line, but manages to run into the corner of spears and then get blasted by arrows, so he gets cleaned up. I regret leaving all of these vulnerable mines living for so long, and he's continuing to expand down south. He's done a really good job of re-expanding. every time stuff gets cleaned up. Better job, better than I was expecting him to do. I thought I had much more of a lead here, and in fact, it's pretty close to parity. He's got some spears in the field now, so we're having to be a lot more careful with the cavalry. He manages to wander into some spears with his chariot once, and then a second time takes some heavy hits, but mostly gets out. We've got a war horn down for the elves. They're doing very well. They clean up a dwarvish hero there. I think that might have been Gimli who went down. And elves are looking real strong. That was a good fight for them. 500 points of elves in the field, only 186 points of dwarves. But he's popped Moria Reclaimed. Summons a pillar surrounded by 3 battalions of veterans that are immune to fear and terror. The elves call in the eagles. And the veterans at least don't have spears, so the Amroth are able to do some good trampling damage there. So it's a pitched battle, a lot of power is being used. The eagles are going to work on all the mines that they could find. Eagles do pretty solid siege damage here. And it's a tough fight. The dwarves are trading very well, but also suffering a lot of casualties. 180 points of dwarves in the field, almost 400 points of elves still, so if it hadn't been for the summons here, the dwarves would be pretty heavily outmatched. And we're starting to get into some higher tier elf units. Our Glade Wardens, our tier 2 spears. What are they? Our March Wardens are our archers, and our spears are the Sentinels.
We shield the golden wood.
And our cavalry unit here is still doing a great job, doing lots of trampling. King Dane on the field, must have been brand new. He's only level 1, doesn't have much. And the bane of the elves, we're starting to see dwarven battering rams coming out. The Demolisher. Strong versus structures. A limit of only 2 can be had at a time. Very tough battering ram unit. In the back, there's a cheeky dwarven mine set up right in the middle of the elven base. We managed to identify it, get some sentinel spears on it. Some dwarf axemen come out, which will trade well into the sentinels, but we've got some march wardens and more sentinels show up just to make sure that this gets cleaned up before there's any extra trouble. All right, the forward mine gets cleared up. A lot of elves in the field, 630 of 820. Dwarves at 520 of 825. So still economically a lot of parity between the two factions. Heavy elvish cavalry starting to push down the dwarf mines in the north, and the elves are pushing in through the middle. Once again, a pretty tough force again, mostly sentinels and march wardens. A lot of spears, a lot of arrows. And we're headed down south, except for Haldir, who just has a penchant for running to his death. Such is the way of Haldir. I honestly think his AI is coded to run him to his death every chance he gets. But we're headed south because I do want to try and make sure that we're getting more economic damage. Over to the east, we identify there is a ram over here, and we get on it pretty well. Well, you can see even with spears and swords on it, it still lives quite long. Dwarves beelining into the base. Elves manage to clean up the ram right away before it does much damage, which is a huge win for us. So, a very favorable engagement. Elves pushing in through the south. Dwarves coming into the elvish base yet again. We'll see how well the March Wardens are able to do. March Wardens with swords are actually very tough. Though there are 2 or 3 battalions of dwarves here fighting them. March Wardens trading like chads, looking great here. Pushing in on the dwarf base again. Gloin calling out special abilities, trading very well actually. Is this guy trampling? Oh my god, I didn't even know he could trample. Holy shit, apparently the dwarvish battering rams can trample. That's kind of some bullshit if you ask me, but the trample actually manages to do a lot of damage, and our frontline forces have lost to King Dane and the various stuff he's got out there. So the elves forced to retreat here. We do clean up the dwarven attack down south. The cavalry are continuing to slowly clear the mines off the north. So all in all, though there were some heavy casualties there, decent economic trading, but there's also a dwarvish battering ram just in the middle of the elf base, causing quite a bit of grief. How fast does he take down a tree? Oh, he like 2 shots a tree. And of course they're very, ooh, slightly more, maybe a 3 shot a tree. But of course they're very resistant to arrows as well. So so I have my March Wardens here, we switch to swords and we go in on him. But Lordy, he takes a long time to kill, even with 2 sort of elite sword units on him, and he manages to trample him down. I had no idea they trampled, no wonder they were giving me such grief here. What a pain in the ass. Up north, we've got Gloin and King Dane. We're pushing back there. Dwarfs lost a number of mines. What are they at? They're still at 725. So there's, you know, 1 mine here. They're rebuilding here. 2, 3, 4, 5. He's on like 6 mines, and most of them are fairly upgraded to level 2s. So he's doing okay economically. Elves at 800, so slightly ahead, but we just lost 2 or 3 trees there. Elves pushing in along the north here, cleaning up some of the mines, but we've got a dwarven force pushing up as well, and a lot of pikes in it this time, so not as free run for the Elvish Cav. A lot of buffs going down on both sides. Cav looking for opportunities to charge in. Arrows flying in, a lot of buffs. Don't even know what's going down. We got arrows, we got moonlight, there's Elvish horns popping. There's Dwarvish horns popping, vows of vengeance, all kinds of things. Elvish reinforcements called up in behind the dwarf force, and I think the elves trade pretty well into there. It's looking good. 400 points of elves on the field, only 260 of dwarfs. The dwarf army gets routed. Will the elves be able to get anything from this? A notable lack of siege damage, though we do spread out. Chopping up a mine up here, working on a mine here. These elves are running down enemy units. Our archers are just kind of aimless here. Ooh, out come Khazad Uzbadul, who are very tough elite units. Fortunately, they're going straight into our archers, which can trade pretty well into them, I think, even though they're quite tough. Yep, so the Dwarvish elite, one of their heroic units, trading pretty well, actually. Managed to clean up a couple of squads here and cause those elves to fall back. Meanwhile, Gimli here manages to, looks like Orofin's getting picked up here and the knights get cut down. The Elvish swordsmen in the back line, though, do manage to clean up at least 2 mines onto a 3rd here. So some strong economic damage. Heroic dwarf infantry still pushing forward into the March Wardens. Only 3 of them left. I think they'll finally fall. They look a little aimless here. The elves decide to leg it and run for it. The dwarves are healing in real time. The March Wardens in the back do clean up a mine, but then get cleaned up themselves. Meanwhile, dwarvish battering rams pushing in down south, and the elves are thin on numbers. Only about 300 command points at the moment. In comes the ram. Again, trampling them down. I honestly had no idea it was doing that. Or I would have probably put more of an emphasis on spears. But the ram is very tough, so even with some swordsmen on it, it's able to pull down another elvish garrison here and keep pushing in. Elves, meanwhile, are healing up their injured units around a tree with a healing upgrade. We do clean up the mine down south. We are expanding some trees down south as well. 478 with 825 for the elves currently, 500 of 600 for the dwarves. So dwarves way behind currently. They lost a lot of mines there and some supply space and some economic advantage. Elves pushing in through the south, trying to clean up north where there is yet another ram coming and fighting our trees. And boy, they're just so tanky, even with a unit of elite cavalry on them. We can kind of like slow them down a bit, but it's taking forever to kill them. Pitched battle down south with even a tower going up here. The elves trying to hold this line, or at least try to keep trying to secure this southern area to keep the dwarves from expanding and pushing through here a little bit. But it's tough because these are some tough tanky dwarf units. There's some elite dwarven spears on the field here, and just they're just very tanky overall. In comes some more sentinels, some more march wardens, and the tower goes down almost immediately as soon as it was up, and even the builder is in danger here. Gimli does a leap in, causes trouble. Builder runs for her life. Eagles on the field yet again, causing grief in the Dwarven backline, picking up more mines. Dwarven battering ram headed straight in the middle, unsupported, but still causing a lot of trouble. And Gimli and his forces managed to clean up the southern end here, just as the dwarves push it, or the elves push into the south. But another call in of dwarvish veterans, and the elvish attack is forced to retreat. I think I probably could have left my cavalry there and cleaned up that mine, but they must have just gotten part of the group, and they got the group order to fall back. We got cavalry up north, but again, elite, heroic dwarven units, the Khazad-uz Badul here, are going to cause some trouble for them. I'm going to need to run here. We're not going to win that fight. And this battering ram gets in, takes out at least one tree, and gets right on my elite recruitment center. Very expensive to level up this hidden sanctum. And it's going to go down, I think. We're shooting it. All of our power is bent on trying to pull this ram down. Boom, he gets the last hit and then goes down immediately after. A big loss for the elves there to lose that. Trading down south. Now these are all timed units, so these are going to time out shortly here. That's part of why the elves ran away, just to let the timers run out without having to fight through those tough guys. Another ram comes in through the front. How expensive are those rams? They are absolute villains. 600 cost, 40 command points. That's not too terrible, but they are causing me a lot of grief, and I haven't quite had the units to deal with them. We've got some Nandor Hirhathal on the field. Those are the elite elvish axemen, though they'll be the last of their kind since they came out of that fully upgraded hidden sanctum that got killed. Dwarvish elites pushing in the top, taking down some trees, and there's been a lot of economic damage on the elves lately. Elves down to 625 command points. Dwarves have climbed up to 775. So we've been able to clean up all of the dwarvish units that have come in, but there's just been a lot of attrition on buildings at this point in time. Bad trade down here. Elvish sentinels against a whole bunch of Gloin and heavy dwarf axemen. And we're about to lose an elvish barracks here. Looks like back foot for the elves, maybe. Amroth riding in on the heavy cavalry, looking for trouble if he could find it back there. We do find a mine. We do find a builder. I think there's 2 squads of cavalry here, actually. Gimli and Gloin just being very tough to deal with, pushing in down south. Not a whole lot. They do have a heroic unit as well, so this is a very tough fighting force. Gimli's causing some grief. They're cutting through things really well here. Are the elves in trouble? We're down to only a single barracks. The dwarfs call in Durin's Day, stunning the whole elf force as well, giving them a lot of time to cut into these archers. And these are all elite march wardens, but these are also elite dwarvish units, so the dwarves are able to tank this very well. And to the strength of the buffs from Gimli and Gloin here, able to keep them alive. And the elves get cut through quite well. Even back on the dwarf base, the power of fire from the various archer units stationed on top of mines and things, and getting chased down by a lot of spearmen. So the elvish elite cavalry's got to come home, and there are 2 battering rams tasked on the elvish main tree here. And we call it GG. Erebor takes the win over Lothlorien, 1-1 against Mook. Great games, a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That's been some Age of the Ring content for Battle for Middle-earth. This is once again a free mod. You could just go to ModDB and download this and start playing. It's pretty easy to set up. It's completely standalone. The community is very supportive, very helpful if you've got issues to try to work out for your install or getting set up in multiplayer and stuff. It's been great. We've had a ton of new people playing. Had a really great time with it lately. Come on in and join us. The water's fine. Hopefully you guys like that. Will be some more Age of the Ring and some other stuff coming before too very long. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.